Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope that your weekend was relaxing and you were able to do some activities that were self-soothing, that were self-care, that were just fun, meeting up with friends and loved ones. I had a pretty relaxing weekend myself, didn't do too much. Um, so we were just chilling. But anyway, the post, as it suggests, is which is a toughie.
I got a sippy.
Oh, you found it? Okay, great job, son.
Good job. Good job, Mommy.
Infertility was not part of the vision. And what I mean by that is the term, or the phrase I should say, this wasn't the picture that I had in my head of what my life would be like and what I would have to deal with as a person or individual or a couple trying to conceive and expanding their families. And I just think it's important that we acknowledge that feeling, because it can be debilitating in the sense of, especially for those who have not conceived yet, whether it's through IUI, adoption, or any form of parenthood measures, treatment, IVF treatment. I think it's important to acknowledge that feeling and that thought, because if not, it is going to continue to be a cloud over your head, and it can be pretty damn depressing. And we're just going to be honest about it, that when we think of all the things that we want to accomplish in life, and then we get to a place where we say, hey, I want to have a kid or two or three, and when your body is seemingly failing you, it is very traumatic, and it can bring about bouts of depression and bouts of anxieties. And it is very hard to come to terms with. And I got to thinking about it because I did a guest podcast yesterday with a young man named Xavier here on the East Coast, as well as I am in the US. And that was part of the discussion. And it's like, I'm a man or a woman, and my body is not doing what I think, or what were we created to do. And it is very devastating, and I can remember the feeling all too well, and I still deal with it because of the fact that if I wanted to have a second baby, and that if we chose that path again for infertility treatments, I'm going to always need help. And of course, there are lifestyle changes that can be made. Nobody's perfect. I try to eat a balanced diet and stay at a healthy weight. But the fact of the matter is, there's a great percentage that I might have to use a reproductive endocrinologist again if we chose to do that. And I'm not saying that that's my journey right now, but I'm just saying that hypothetically, if that was a part of our journey, to have more children with one another, and not adopt, and not go into the foster care system here on the East Coast, then I need help, And for those who have not had any children yet, whether it's through adoption or infertility treatment, and they're kind of like in this limbo, or just have decided to stop and just let it be what it is and figure out another way, and then maybe it's not going to be their journey. Maybe they'll be living a life without children after not really after infertility, because once you're infertile, but just living a childless life because they've given it all that they could, and they no longer want to pursue a path of infertility treatments. So I think it's important that we deal with that emotion. And I actually felt it rise up in me again last night, because, and this is maybe TMI, but I began to sob deeply during intimacy with my husband because of the hypothyroid disease and how it affects my sexual desires and such. So, infertility brings so much, and it's so complex, and it's so unique for everyone. And we go through similar experiences in the sense of just being infertile, but everybody's story is just so unique, and the feelings may be similar and the thoughts may be similar, and but each of us have our own journey and our own story. And although I may not be triggered by needing a reproductive endocrinologist to conceive again if I chose to, that's the medical diagnosis of it. I still deal with the hypothyroid disease and all of the side effects and complications that causes with my day-to-day life. And that emotion just came out last night, and I just had to sit with it, and I just had to allow my husband to comfort me the best way he knew how, and he always does a wonderful job. But it's just like you it almost feels like you overcome one hurdle and then there's another. And that's what life really is all about, in a sense of going through trials and tribulations, storms, and various roadblocks. There's always going to be something on the other side of a mountain that we continuously have to go up and down, up and down, up and down. And although it may get easier because we learn coping mechanisms and we learn how to heal, it doesn't mean that it's going to stop. And so if we can deal with each individual emotion as they come, when they come, it does make going through the next hurdle a little bit easier, because it's like we have less to carry over the next mountaintop if we've dealt with the last mountaintop to a certain degree. And I'm not saying that dealing with it today is enough, or dealing with it tomorrow is enough. There's always room for growth. And I think if we can learn to become comfortable in always having to grow and always having to be on this path of self-development and self-growth and healing and dealing with our internal selves, then being comfortable with knowing that, tomorrow or the next month or a year from now, there may be something new that we have to get through and that we have to internally deal with and heal from, then it almost becomes second nature. Look, hey, I got to go through this thing, and let's get through it, and let's find out what we can do to heal from it, and not just put a Band-Aid on it, but actually heal from it and grow from it, and being able to tackle that next mountaintop and what that is going to be like. So I just want to encourage everybody going into the new week to evaluate and assess where you are, and be okay with where you are, and be content with the progress that you've made thus far, and not be too hard on yourself, and be more compassionate with yourself, and be vulnerable with the people that you trust, So I just wanted to say that. But peace and blessings, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's just continue to connect and heal together.